Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm so excited to be with you today. It is closing in on the end of the year. Christmas is this week. It's a time of incredible bounty for all of us and a lot of intense energy. Do you all feel it? There's a lot going on. There's a lot of movement with people, with energy, with the end of the year for school for so many students, with folks preparing to travel to be with loved ones. There's a lot of movement. And as we know, whether we like this or not, there is also a lot of movement of germs, let's just say. If you've been watching the news at all, and you don't even have to watch it because it's probably happening in your world, so many people are succumbing to this latest variant of COVID 19. And I should say succumbing, meaning just getting sick, not losing their lives. The good news is, so far, it seems that this is a milder version, but it is affecting so very many people. And I don't usually talk about in detail about these kinds of things on Dream Leapers Inspiration, but I think that right now we all need to get really smart. We need to make some tough choices. We need to make smart choices in order to take care of ourselves and our loved ones. And at this time of year we when there is so much energy, there is so much movement, there is this intense desire to be in community with the people that you love. This is between Thanksgiving and New Year's, more people in the United States travel than any other time of year. And very often the travel is coming to be with loved ones. Last year, we weren't able to do that. Last year, Dr. Fauci and other medical professionals begged us to stay home, to not get on planes, trains, buses, to not get in our cars and go to be with our family members because we love them. And this year, it has felt different. It has felt like, well, it, things have opened up a bit. We're back at work, many of us. We are back physically in school, many of us. We are living our lives in a way that feels a little bit more like normal. And then just in the past couple of weeks, things have started to change. And I wanted to talk to all of us about being present and recognizing change, recognizing when we may need to make changes in our schedules, in our lives, so that we can take care of ourselves and those around us. Something I tell my daughter all the time is make smart choices. When she's heading out the door, I tell her to make smart choices and remind her that she is a leader. So, as a teenager, 18 years old, moving into becoming a young woman, when she's with a group of young people, not everyone is mature. And even the ones who are mature may not always be making wise decisions. So, it has to be that those who have the awareness step up and make smart choices. That when something doesn't make sense, you pause and evaluate the moment and decide, is this what I should be doing? Or should I possibly be doing something different? Is the choice that I want to make a smart choice? Or is it a short sighted choice, a selfish choice, a choice that this is just what I want to do right now? Now, this is something I talked to my daughter about, but I want to say it's something I talk to myself about too. Am I in this moment making a smart choice? Am I doing right now what is going to be beneficial to me and to my loved ones and to people that I care about in the future? And I think it's essential for us to step back at this time and consider these things. To step back and say, how am I living? And the choices that I'm making, are they serving me, not just in this moment today, but will they serve me moving forward? Am I planting seeds that will grow into something that I will love and appreciate and that will support me? How often do we have knee-jerk reactions to things, and especially now when we are tired of having to be safe. We're tired of having to make decisions that keep us in quarantine, that keep us in isolation, that keep us from connecting to each other physically, that keep us from moving about freely. We're tired. We're tired of it. We want to be with each other. We want to we want to make connections like we used to make. See, this is the tricky part, I guess. We can never go back to what used to be. We may be able to make choices that will support the gems of our lives and include those things moving forward, but things are never the same. This moment is not going to be the same as what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. It just doesn't work like that. And whenever we have nostalgia for how things were, it's understandable, but it's also not realistic, because what's realistic is paying attention to the moment that you're in and doing your best to figure out, how can I show up in this moment? How can I bring my full self to this moment? Understanding what I have appreciated about the past, likely having the intention to bring forward things that I've learned, activities that I can participate in, things I can do in order to have the best life possible. But you cannot bring the past forward. You can bring lessons from the past forward. You can bring things from the past forward. But experiences change. You cannot exactly replicate an experience, no matter how much you try. So being in the moment is key. Doing your absolute best not to get stuck in the past, but being in the present. How can you be in the present and fully be alert and awake and conscious of what the moment calls for? It's not easy to do. I say it like, oh, just do that. This is what we have to do. It's not easy to do. It requires a level of awareness, as I say, of consciousness, that you gain by invoking stillness, by inviting yourself to be still, by inviting your being to connect to the source of life inside of you, that I understand and have been taught connects you to divinity. It requires you accessing that stillness on a daily basis, sometimes more than once a day. But it requires you to anchor yourself, to ground yourself in the freedom of awareness that allows you to see what is before you. This is so important. In order to make smart choices, you have to be aware. I remember I was working on a book, How to Be, it's an etiquette book, many years ago. And there was a research assistant working with me who was immersed in Black culture. And she had some refinement points that she wanted me to include in How to Be that were of a cultural nature. Some of them absolutely revolutionary. Some that I thought were good to include, some that I thought were not necessary. And we debated for hours about the points that she had in mind. And one of the things that she said to me is, the reason that you are thinking the way that you are is because you have not been exposed to the truth, certain aspects of the truth about African American life and history. And we battled about that. She showed me texts to open my eyes to certain aspects of our cultural heritage that she felt were vital for me to understand. And I read and listened and debated with her and made choices based upon learning. As it related to this particular book, there were things that were pertinent and things that were not. But I remember this moment now as I'm talking to you because what she challenged me to do was to go deeper. She challenged me to do more research and to learn more about the subject that we were exploring from a historical perspective so that I would have enough context. And when I think about that today, you can apply that thinking to any subject at all. It, that sense of what did Biggie Small say about now you know what you know, or however you put it. There's a certain amount of information that we know, and there's often far more information that we can gather. And as we gather more information, we are able to make more informed decisions. That's what informed means. I think about self care and making smart choices. So, when you look at the way in which you take care of yourself, the ways in which you take care of yourself, if you just pause for a moment and look at that, how are you coming to the decisions that you do in order to take care of yourself? Over this period of almost 2 years, when we have been much more still than ever, often sitting in a chair on a stool just like we are now, um, looking into a screen just like we are now, not moving nearly as much as we would like. I should say, did you wake up to the realization that you better get up and move? I know I did. I started having leg pains because I was working so much and sitting right here staring into a screen that I wasn't moving my legs enough. I was not physically moving my body enough because I thought I was responding to the moment and taking care of business, doing my work. Grateful that I had a lot of work to do. And we were using screens like we are now. And then at a certain point, I realized, but I'm not moving my body. My watch would chime and say, stand up on every hour, my smart watch. And I would go, oh, okay, I'll do that later. I had lots of reminders to tell me what to do. And it took me probably a whole year to recognize, you are doing the wrong thing. You are not making smart choices. And so then I changed. In that moment of awareness, when I recognized I wasn't doing the right thing for myself, I started doing the right things for myself. And it made a huge difference. A good friend of mine told me about a fitness training service that does everything virtually. You can have a personal fitness trainer. All you have to do is turn on your computer and have Wi-Fi. And a year ago, January, I started working with this service. And a year later, I'm still working with this service. So twice a week, I get up early in the morning, turn on my computer, and work out with a human being who guides me. When it felt a little safer, I started going back to the gym. When it was warm, I started walking again with my friends. I had spent a year doing hardly anything other than not always eating healthy food, still not getting enough rest, working even more hours. Now, I was so grateful to have a lot of work because this is what happened during COVID. There's some people who are out of work, some people whose work dwindled, and some people where there was more of a thriving. And what happened for me was more of thriving. And I was so grateful. I was so grateful that I didn't want to say no to anything. And my plate got fuller and fuller and fuller. And I was not creating balance. Has that happened to any of you? Did that happen to any of you? I talked to many clients who told me, in my coaching work, who told me that the boundaries between work and personal life evaporated, dissolved, because they were working from home and their bosses would say to them, well, I just do one more thing for me. And that one more thing could end up at 11, 12 o'clock at night, depending upon the industry you're in, later. Easily could be on the weekends on a regular basis because boundaries collapsed. And it's hard to reinstate boundaries if you're not in charge. So a lot of energy has swirled uh, around boundaries, around appropriateness, around choices, about how to move forward in this time when so many things collapse because of a health crisis, followed by a racial reckoning crisis, another one. In the midst of all of this, we have had to live. We have had to move forward each day and face the challenges that come to us, embrace the sweet moments that make life worth living, learn the lessons that are vital for us to make smart choices moving forward, and remember that every single day that we wake up and open our eyes and get out of bed, it's a beautiful day that we can engage to be our best and to contribute the best that we can to our world. All that is easy to say. It's very, very different to get up and do these things when you feel tired, when you feel exhausted, when you feel like, what do I do now? And the what do I do now question has come up a lot recently, as I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast, because of the latest wave of coronavirus. Because before us is a hidden enemy that is knocking people down, even people who are vaccinated. That little bit of letting our guard down has let this disease back in, and it is in full effect right now. I can't even tell you how many people I know who are ill. And so, what is the smart choice that we can make when we want to be with our loved ones, when we want to fulfill whatever our duties are? We want to have fun. We want to embrace life. And there are many obstacles before us. What is the smart choice for you in this moment? And by the way, there are lots of choices that have to be made. We make choices all day long, even if we don't realize it. Even if it is not a conscious action, we are still making choices all the time. Am I going to do this or am I going to do that? When am I going to do this or that? How am I going to proceed? So I want to say to everyone, now is the time to pause. Before jumping in a car, jumping on a plane, a train, a bus, a subway, pause. Assess your next steps. What is the smartest thing for you to do moving forward? Right now. Today. What's the smartest thing for you to do today? Look at that list. The list out, and if you don't have one yet, make a list. You know how I am about lists. I make one every single day. Write on your list what you absolutely have to do today. What are the requirements? Write on your list what you have to do tomorrow and for the next 2 weeks between now and the end of the year. Make a 2-week list. Do it by day. What do you have to do? If they're work responsibilities, put them down. Family responsibilities, put them down. Self-care responsibilities, write them down. What do you have to do between now and the next 2 weeks? Specific things. Look at your list. What is an absolute requirement? What can you table for now? Why are we doing this? So that we can be conscious and intentional as we move forward with our lives. What tough decisions might you have to make right now in order to be as safe as possible? What decisions Do you need to make that invoke your strength, your courage, and your calm? I say that because I am not here to tell any of us, go home, lock the door, and don't go out anymore. Absolutely not. I instead want us to evaluate carefully whatever the steps are that we need to take moving forward. What should we be doing now based upon everything that we know about our own lives and our world? How can we best serve this moment? And that's why today's message is about making smart choices. You years ago, my daughter told me that my husband, her father, has all kinds of sayings. And so she was giving me a list of all the sayings that daddy says to her and that are life lessons. And so I said, well, what are my sayings? I must have some sayings too. And in the moment, I'm going to say this is about 8, 9 years ago. She's like, I don't really know, mommy, because we talk all the time, and she didn't have any particular saying to come forward. Well, we started thinking about it. And one of them that I've been saying to her since she was much younger than that is make smart choices. Because I believe whatever you want your children to do, you should teach it to them before they can even talk. Start sharing those lessons with them. And this is one that I think is important because it allows a person of any age to accept responsibility for their life. Make smart choices. It isn't do what mommy says for you to do. It isn't do what your boss says for you to do. Do what your spouse says for you to do. It is do what you know to be right for you and for your life and for the world. It invokes agency. It invokes your ability to guide your steps. Now, of course, for all of us who are parents, it's our job to guide our children's steps. But honestly, what I think we are charged with doing is as we guide their steps, teach them how to think about doing that for themselves and give them a chance to practice. They need to practice what it means to make a smart choice or not and suffer the consequences when it is an or not. Why is that important? Think about your own life right now. For every adult who's connected to me right now, which is most of the people who connect on Dreamleapers Inspiration, think about your own life. How many times have you made a choice that served you well or that was reckless? That helped you to move in the direction you pointed your steps toward, or that derailed you, or that created a detour that was unnecessary? Hey, for those of you who use Waze, and my husband and I swear by it, we like it because it keeps the car moving. So, if you sit and stop and go traffic, it's really hard to be alert. So Waze always finds a path whenever possible where you can keep moving. Sometimes when you're not using your noggin too, when you aren't, especially if you have a sense of direction, which I do not, my husband does. When you're driving and Waze tells you go there, and you're like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, when it doesn't make sense, and we follow that, I hear my husband cursing and fussing. Why did I follow that anyway? I knew better. I knew where I was supposed to go. This is not a good idea. Occasionally, Waze will take you on what some call a wild goose chase. Why am I going down this path when I know this path is better, even considering traffic? Why do I mention that? Because all of us have been guilty of listening to someone say, don't do it that way, do it this way. Sometimes the advice is wise. Sometimes the advice is not. Following advice blindly is not smart. Yes, harvest recommendations from people you trust, especially if you're looking to make a tough decision or a big decision, a pivotal decision in your life. Yes, welcome wisdom from people you trust, but don't just do what they say. Don't just say, oh, well, so and so told me I should do this, so I'm doing it. Don't blindly accept someone's recommendation or strong push. Pause and assess. Does this make sense for me? Is this what I believe I should be doing right now based upon all the intel that I've gathered? Does my gut, does my heart tell me that this is the right thing for me to do? Or if it does not, stay paused. Listen to the voice inside, sleep on it. If you feel completely uncomfortable about a decision that someone else has recommended that you make, don't make the decision. Make a smart choice. And for you, the smart choice may be just simply to pause until you can better evaluate the whole situation. Now, that does not mean get frozen so that you don't take any action at all. That is not what I mean. What I mean is you have to get right with whatever decision you are going to make for yourself. So sit with it. Again, if you request the advice of two or three people whose opinions you value, each one is probably going to say something a little bit different from the next, even if it's headed toward the same decision. Write down what they said to you. Write it down. Think it through. Look forward. Look to the future and envision what what the most likely outcome could be of the decision that you're making. This is important because very often our decisions have unintended consequences. Occasionally, those consequences are good. Often, they are not. It is important to have a vision for the future that includes the choice that you're considering right now. What may happen if you do this? What may happen if you don't? What may happen if you make a choice that is different from that initial thought? Go down that line to see what may happen with the best amount of information possible. Make an evaluation and then make a smart choice for how to move forward. And that smart choice cannot be simply, oh, I'm doing it because so and so told me to. It doesn't work like that. If you don't accept responsibility for your life, you will constantly be following behind someone else. I assure you that is not the path toward peace. And I do not mean that you have to choose to work toward being the leader in every situation. Well, I have to be the boss, otherwise, I can't make the choice. I don't mean that. You have to be the boss of your life. Yes. You have to be the boss of yourself, your being. In that sense, you're leading yourself. But you could easily, most of us have a boss. In fact, even I'm an entrepreneur, I have lots of bosses, all my clients. So I'm not suggesting that you have to rise to the position where you are in charge of everything. I am saying you are in charge of your life. And your responsibility is to make smart choices for your life. And if you have people for whom you are responsible, children, elders, people who have some kind of disability, if you have people who are your dependents, you're responsible for them too. But even then, how can you empower them to make whatever choices are possible for them? As we move into these last 2 weeks of the year, I encourage you to step back, assess the moment, ask yourself, what is the smart choice for this moment? Do whatever research you have to do so that you make an informed decision and then make it. And watch what happens after you have made the smartest choice that you can. I want to invite all of you to be safe, to take great care in spending time with each other, to resist the temptation to be too close up in each other's faces, in a hug from a distance, and love each other in a way that's safe. That's what we need to do in order to move into 2022 healthy in body, mind, and spirit. And I want to share with you that I will be hosting a meditation event on January 5th. I think it's Wednesday, January 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. You're all invited to join. You can sign up on Eventbrite. We will be having a guided meditation to help lead us into the year. It'll be longer than our 3 minutes that we often do here. We'll do an assessment of our year and a focus on moving forward. And I welcome all of you to join. You can go on my website, harrietcole.com, and sign up there. It's also on my Facebook page. I hope you'll join us. One of the best things I've ever done in my life is to bring in the new year in meditation. We do it every year. Well, this is not on New Year's Eve, but it's a few days later. Let's join together in a group meditation, invoking the greatness within as we start 2022. And until next time, we will have one more gathering before the end of the year. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.